Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about The Strain Season 3. So The Strain was created by Chuck Hogan and Gerald. I can't say this dude's name. I hate saying his name. Guillermo de Toro something or another. That, the movie making dude that everybody loves. Like, who made Blade 2 and everything. I can't say his name. But anyway, they created one of the most cool vampires I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen vampires like this. I love how their mouth opens up. I love that long tongue that's like a stinger and everything. I love the fact that their blood reconstitutes into a white cream. And I love that there's worms inside their bodies. So if you kill them, chopping off their head or blowing their head off, the worms splat out. And if the worms get on your body and go through your skin, then they can infect you and turn you into a vampire. That is so cool, and I've never seen nothing like that. In fact, season 3 was the first season I've ever seen. And I remember when it first came on, because I never knew it existed. And so when it came on, I'm like, oh, The Strain, what's this about and everything? And so I watched it, and in the first episode, boy, I was captivated. I've never seen a vampire movie or show where the cops in the military go hunting for vampires in a very militaristic type way. I clear my throat. It was just so fascinating. I didn't know who none of the characters were or anything like that, or what the mythology lore was about. And then, you'll see the doctors and the scientists experimenting on them. I've never seen nothing like this before. And so it was so unique, so genuine, and a breath of fresh air. Because, the whole vampire trope, it gets so old. They either look like humans or their face contorts into a monstrous looking thing. They might have pointy ears or not, fangs or 2 buck teeth that look like fangs, and, either garlic, a steak, holy water, sunlight, the gist of it. But this was just so unique and so well crafted. And so, because of this, I had no idea who Nora was. I didn't know how Kelly got turned. I didn't know about this whole master stuff. So I had to catch up very fast. And, when I did eventually watch the first 2 seasons, I was even more shocked and amazed. And I was even more shocked and amazed to find out that from season 1, the very first episode, all the way to the first episode of season 3, only 3 weeks have passed. Yes. Season 1 and 2 takes place within 1 week each. And then after season 2 into season 3, another week passed. I'm thinking, no way, man. All that crap happened within the strand of 3 weeks. And the vampires took over quickly and stuff. But then they've been slowly taking over for centuries and everything. But once you get to season 4, then it takes a huge time leap, about 8-9 months or so. And it's quite a bummer because after what happened at the end of season 3, I was in total shock. I'm like, man, how are they gonna survive this? What's gonna happen? And but then it took a time jump, and I'm like, ah, man, don't do a time jump. That sucks, man. And so this season takes place about, a week after season 2. And so by this time, Zach had went off with Kelly, the vampire, Segoy, and everything. And so Dr. If and everything, or Hemp, he's just out of it. He's back to drinking heavily. He is living in his house by himself, waiting for his son to come back. And, the military dudes, they storm in, talking about, what are you doing here? You have a 4-star, pass. You can have the best food, the best home. You can get out the city if you want. But no, he's just hunkering down in his home, and he drives around a taxi cab that he found. And you can really truly feel this dude's pain and stuff. Now, with this season, the group is split up, sadly. Not as split up as they are in season 4, but they are split up in groups this season. And it's groups that you never saw working together. So it's like Fit and the Professor. Also, Quinlan is, what's her name? Dutch, and then it's Imp and everything. I think that's how you say his name. Good Weather. I just say Good Weather. It's like Dutch and Good Weather, and then of course it's Gus, off on his own, doing his own thing, away from the group because he's not really part of the group, and he's with Angel this season, like he was last season. Gus is just an interesting character, man. It's just like he's not part of the group. He's partially responsible for the vampires taking over, and he just does his own thing. And he is pristinely gifted in everything. Like he's a natural born vampire killer. And you think they would like use that more into more like a Buffy or like a Blade type thing, but they really don't. He's just off in his own world, doing his own gangsterish stuff, and it's just an odd fit because he doesn't really interact with the group all that much because he's never really truly part of the group. He makes things trouble for them and everything. So I wish they would have done more with him with the group in that regard. Now he does in season 4 and stuff. Also, we get introduced to a new character named Maria. Maria is interesting because this season they had webisodes. So Maria appears on one episode only when she's part of a chain gang supposed to clear out the Segoy. But we find out more about her in a webisode, and these webisodes were really, really well done. A bit better than the Walking Dead webisodes. And so also this season is funny. If you had the DVD, because the webisodes also was on the DVD this season. Also was on the DVD is, I think it's called Vava Boom or something like that. It's basically the actor who plays Fit, the Professor, and Gus. They're rapping about the vampires taking over. David Bradley, old behind, is rapping. It is something you have to see. It is on YouTube. And I gotta give it up to David Bradley, man. I have a newfound respect for this man as an actor because 20 years ago when he started the Harry Potter movies as Filch, I didn't really think much of him. He was just the grumpy old man. Then they turned him to the comedic relief. And he was still grouchy and everything. And he didn't have that many lines towards the middle part of and the end of the series. And so because they treated him like a joke, that's kind of like, I just thought, okay, whatever. I didn't even think of him that much. But then seeing him in this show, man, that man is a boss. And so now I get happy whenever I see him in other things like Game of Thrones and Britannia in that one episode and a whole bunch of other stuff. And, yeah, he's like, gotten older now. So that was 20 years ago back in the Harry Potter when it first started, what was it, like 2002 or something like that, 2001. And so, his voice has changed. It got more gravier. He's older, he's slower, but the man can still swing that sword. And, he's still acting till this day. And so, like, much respect, just like much, much, much respect. And so there's some characters this season who don't really get that much to do. Zach doesn't, Rikers doesn't. You don't really see the master all that much. But we do get some backstory in Quinlan and stuff. And like, how he came to be and, his vendetta against like the master and stuff. And we get one more like, flashback with the professor, with his younger self. But we also get some flashbacks with Palmer. And in a way, it started to humanize him. But then it's like, oh no, he's still like a punk and stuff. So let's get into what some characters do this season because it's quite fascinating. So let's start with the Professor, Fit, and Quinlan. So after Quinlan fought with both Fit and the Professor last season for the Lumen and everything, The professor decided he's gonna work with Quinlan because they both have the same goal: stop the vampires, kill the master, and help humanity and stuff like that. So, and plus, strength in numbers, and Quinlan is half human, half vampire. So the professor wants to work with him. Fit, on the other hand, does not. And Fit let it be known that he hates him. You're a muncher. And he said, I'm about to sound like a bigot and everything because I hate your kind. This causes the professor to make him stop. After a while, those two get along and they work together. Now, when it comes to Quinlan, we see, because see, it's when a human turns into a Sogoi, that's the name of the vampires in here, they lose their sexual reproduction organs and stuff. So there's no way to make a vampire. So the way he was made is that two humans made him, but as he was inside his mom, the master stung him and everything. I believe he's known as one of the 8 kids of the master, and he has been prophesied to destroy the master. Basically, they're gonna have a fight to the death, and both will die. And he accepts his fate, but it didn't always start off that way. He was in a circus many years ago, back in 58 AD, and a woman found him and bought him and taught him how to regain his humanity, something he never really had. He learned how to speak, he learned how to read, he learned how to fight, and he believed he was always ready for the master. He's impulsive, but she told him, you're not ready. The master shows up one day, traps them both inside a cave, and he's forced to feed on her because he's growing weak. And he realized she's right. He is not ready. Well, basically, this season, he's still at it. He wants to kill the master and screw the Lumen and screw the professor. He just wants to do it now. And so him and Goodweather decide to rush it and everything. And so he does chop off the head of the master early in the season. So you think, okay, why isn't he dead? Well, there's a crimson worm, a giant one, about the size of a millipede. It crawls out the master's host's body down into the sewer. We don't see the master no more after this, but we hear him talk to other vampires. The worm got away and he later reinfected another Sogoi, but we don't get to see it until towards the end, until he affects somebody else. And so now Quinlan realizes, he screwed up and he has to work as a team. He has all the powers of a Sogoi and he has all the weaknesses. Sunlight will affect him and silver will affect him. He can fight and he can get hurt and he has to regenerate after that. So pretty much at some point in time, the professor needs the help of the ancient ones. They're kind of like his uncle and brothers of the master. And they like some of the first vampires and they're the strongest, and they just sit on these lying bed type things with their arms folded. They're completely naked and they talk through telepathy and everything. And there's a group of military Sogoi that work for them that have the ability to talk and act as human as they want. Well, Curse follows the military Sogoi back to the Ancient One's hideout with a nuke. It's a huge battle, an awesome battle. Sogoi blood and heads are flying everywhere. Quinlan's just whooping behind, and then the nuke goes off. Quinlan takes off running and he's pretty much weak a little bit after that, and he later rejoins the group. So now the Ancient Ones are completely gone. Curse pretty much doesn't do much this season. He works in the shadows. His job is to make sure Zach is okay, healthy, because the master has plans for Zach. So Kelly has to attend to him. And so basically he is running Palmer Industries and stuff. I think it's called Stoneheart Industries. And so Palmer doesn't know this. Him and Palmer aren't getting along, and Palmer and the master aren't getting along because they killed his lover from last season. And so he is still back to dying. He isn't given the white no more. And pretty much like he's been forging Palmer's signature. Palmer wants to know what the heck is going on, what you're doing with my equipment, what are you doing with my boats and stuff like that. Basically, he tells them, it ain't your business. Well, at some point in time, he fights Goodweather and Dutch like chops off his left hand, and so he's missing a hand for the entirety of the season. Well, at some point in time, Palmer has had enough, and he has his men open fire on Rikers and everything, riddled with bullets and everything, to the point he's so weak, he asked the master just to straight up kill him and stuff. And so, like, the master has decided to use his white to heal right curse and everything. So that's pretty much the gist of what he does like this season. He's a great villain. He's one of the nastiest villains I've ever seen. But it's quite the shame not to see him do much this season. However, one thing Right Curse has been doing is that he's been stepping up his game with the Segoy. The master has allowed some to retain their memories, to pretend to be cops, and take out other people. Also, there's a giant nest. And so, like, one thing he does is that he goes to the police. Well, he infects. No, wait. He implants bombs into some of the Segoy as they head to the police station to infect people as they blow up. Boy, when I say I've never seen nothing like this before, I've never seen nothing like this before. Palmer Iltridge. So basically, like I said, he's done with the master, he's done with the vampires, and he's jumped ship. He wants to help out Serzakian. Plus, he wants the white, and he been having his lab technicians to try and make the white like feasible to bond with his body and heal him. But it's not working for some bizarre reason. But he knows that the professor has the formula and he wants it. The professor gives him a tiny dosage and everything. And so he wants to regain his company back and his manhood. But we get to see a flashback. It turns out that back when he had his disease and stuff, when he was starting out as a young man, he found his father. Well, he already knew who his father was, but his father wants nothing to do with him. His father owns like this big company. His father is basically like, what up, man? Like, you're sick, you're ill, you're a disappointment. And that really hurt Palmer and stuff. And you feel bad for Palmer, even though he's very evil. And he writes his son a check for a couple of $1,000 and tells him to just get out like his face and never come back. And Palmer pretty much tells him, you know what, I will make something of myself one day and blah, 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 and stuff like that. So then years later, when Palmer's an old man and his father is like, even older, his father suffered a heart attack and living in a nursing home. His father is as happy could be. Palmer shows up and he's all like, I took your thousands and I doubled it and I doubled it and I doubled it. And I'm one of the richest men in the city. And he wrote him a check to reimburse him and told him pretty much, right before the dad ripped up like the check, he's all like, what? I bought out your company. I'm gonna name it like Stoneheart, because that's what you are and everything. And I'm gonna fire all your employees and everything and reshape your company. And I'm thinking to myself, because basically he's doing this to hurt his father. Everything his father has made, he's gonna crumble. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're starting to like him a little bit until he wants to fire the employees who have done nothing. And basically his father like sasses him and everything. So the man has always been a jerk, like always, even in his weakened state. But you gotta respect the fact that he was sick, ill, and dying and made something of himself. But he's still a jerk who had tried to have the vampires take over so he can have immortality. Well, when he steals the nuke back from that of the like master and stuff, The master shows up and ain't too happy. Especially what happened with Right and everything. The master is now in just a like a normal Sugoi body. Basically, the Sugoi are one step ahead now, and like he's allowing some Sugoi to regain their memories so they can be like pretend to be police officers and stuff like that. And so like he infects Palmer with himself, and now Palmer is the new master. And so, with his hair still in place before it falls out, he tricks Sazakian and everything. Sanjay, he will show up more in season 4, but basically he works for Rikers, but he technically works for Palmer, and so he's the one taking over as Palmer's supposedly ill and everything like that. Rikers has him create a meat blood station for humans. Basically, you put them on a hook, they go through this machine, and it sucks them dry of their blood. He has turned his back on humanity, and he does it worse in season 4. It's very disgusting. I mean, I get it. He's terrified, you know what I'm saying? Because if he doesn't do what they say, they will either turn him or drain him. So it's one of those hard situations. It's kind of like, do you turn your back on humanity or do you die? You know what I'm saying? And the professor hates his behind and even threatens to chop his head off and everything. Oh no, his other employee, he threatens to chop the head off. But still, when the professor, like if you betray humanity for the vampires, the professor has no respect for you. Councilwoman Fernaldo. So she is taking front and center on trying to get rid of the vampires. Now she believes everybody when they say there's vampires and stuff. And so she's doing a great job. She has her own task force. The military and the police are going house to house and killing all the Sogor that they can find, especially in the city. And they're slimming it down to where the people have hope again. However, there is a problem. Some of the cops have started a chain gang. Basically, if you break the rules and get arrested, you are forced to clear out like buildings and tunnels and all kind of stuff of vampires. At first, she had no idea of this, and when she found out, she was furious until she realized she needs them and allowed it to happen. After that, I lost respect for her. And so, Rikers, he implants a bunch of vampires with explosives. So they go to the police station and boom, the worms are flying everywhere and they infect tons of people there. She gets one worm to the eye, which Goodweather or Fit, one of those two, is able to get it out. I think it's Fit. He used a UV light to like burn it out, and that's the only one she had. So she remained alive for the rest of the season. Problem is, when Fit got rid of a nest of thousands of vampires in the tunnels, it turns out there was more waiting at Central Park. And so they overran the police force to the point where half the police force is now either turned or dead. So she wants to keep staying there and fighting. The cops are all like, look, man, we ain't got the manpower and we're running out of guns. If we stay, we die. So only 5 cops stayed with her while the rest got out the city. She was gonna stay and fight, man, because she realized that she should have listened in season 2. So, but then her companion police officer friend convinced her, look, it is time to go. So her and all the rest of the cops, they fly on down the road and get out the city and stuff. But there's a barricade. They get overran with like vampires. Gus and Angel decide to help them out. Well, technically it's Angel. Gus wants them to die because he was part of the chain gang that they forced him to be part of. So, but they get overrun, and then all the rest of the cops get taken out. Even the female cop who was banging Fit in one episode. And so, like, She went out with a blaze of glory, man. She was like rat-tat-tatting there behind up. But then the way she went out is poetic. It was a one single worm to the eye again. And that's the one that took her behind out. The professor is pretty much working with, like I said before, with Fit and that of Quinlan. When Goodweather betrays him, he wants nothing to do with him no more. And so, but of course, he knows he's still going to need him. And so basically the professor this season, while still his grumpy self, he's not as mean as before. He feels sad that Nora died because him and Nora got along pretty well. And he's also extremely sad that Zach got taken by Kelly. And so basically, he's just reading over the lumen and trying to figure out how to kill the professor. We see one flashback with him where he meets that one pawn shop vampire dude. And after he took him out, he placed him inside a casket made of silver and threw him at the bottom of the ocean and stuff. That is how he plans on getting rid of the master. And so like at some point they have like the box and everything, right? And it's a big fight. And so the master is somewhat distracted by this device that Dutch and Goodweather created. So after Quinlan whoops his behind, they stuff the master, now Palmer, in the box full of silver. And they're getting ready to pull him out into the ocean until Zach does something really stupid. So Angel and Gus, they are pretty much paired up this entire season. And when it comes to Gus, he is upset because his mom got turned the last season. He's basically feeding her his own blood. Like he'll put it in like a tray and he'll give it to her. He's tough, but he don't want to leave his mom. And the reason for that, we get a flashback as him as a kid. He has a huge bruise on his eye, and so does his mom. His two uncles are there, and they're all like, look, Gus' dad will not get away with this no more. We are going to take care of him. Basically, his uncles murders his dad because they got tired of him whooping on like their nephew and their sister. And they told Gus, you're the man of the family now. Your mom's going to need you. Well, of course, what did Gus do? Hang out with the wrong crowd, gets arrested, get put in juvie. And when he gets out, he goes to a bartender asking for some easy money. This is how he met Rikers and everything. And then he smuggled the master into the city. So basically, he has lost a lot of people. His mom, his cousin, his friends, everybody, you know what I'm saying? But he still has Angel. Angel will not leave him. And it's funny because they didn't even know each other before season 2 until he saw a video of him. And then they became friends and stuff and started fighting vampires. And so basically, he will not get rid of his mom. When the police come by to do a sweep, they try to smuggle their mom out, or his mom out, but then he takes the helmet off and let it sting a couple of the cops. They get caught and put in the chain gang, and that's where they meet Maria. Maria, when she meets them, she's a tough girl and everything. She ain't taking no crap, but she don't know how to use a gun, and she's not really used to killing the vampires yet. And so she's scared to go down there in the tunnels. He's trying to prep her on how to kill them while the cops are being buttholes and stuff. Basically, Gus lets the cops get stung and everything like that. And when Goodweather and Dutch are down there, he has Angel, who got shot, get them out of there. Well, we find out with Maria what all happened to her before all this happened. It was her and her mom living in the apartment together. When the mom came back with food, the neighbors saw that, but look, man, strength in numbers, your apartment is better than ours and everything. Let's ride this out. And so they did, until the guy went to go look for some food, came back with a cut. His girlfriend bops him in the head thinking he got bit, but no, he was just sick with a fever. And so at some point, Maria goes out looking for food. And so when she's going out looking for food and stuff like that, she robs one of the dead vampire people she sees. A cop sees this as looting and arrests her. I mean, look, man, it's the freaking apocalypse. Of course you're gonna loot. There are people like, starving and stuff. And so they put her in the chain gang. After the whole chain gang thing, when she's freed, she goes back to her mom, now knowing how to shoot and everything. But her mom is nowhere to be found. The place has been ransacked. Like a couple of days later, she meets the girlfriend of the guy. And before that, she meets like a dead woman with her mom's shawl on. She asks the girl, yo, where my mom at? Like, what's been going on? The girl reveals that, because the girl has her mom's watch on. So she's like, yo, man, what's going on? Because she ain't playing. So basically, the girl, they all had to get out the apartment. Her boyfriend, and like the mom. And that's when Central Park got ran over. She got scared and she just left both of them. I think the boyfriend got stung, but then the mom tripped and fell and she didn't help her. So Marie's all like, look, man, I'm giving you mercy and stuff. I'm gonna let you live, but you gotta get the blank out of here. She leaves a message for her mom in case the mom goes back to the apartment, and she leaves because one of the explosions went off, and so she just like decided she had to leave and look for her mom. After that, we don't know what happens to her or her mom because it's never followed up on. She's a cool character and should have been shown in season 5, but never was. So after Angel and Gus meet back up, Angel's about to get stung by Gus's mom. And Gus had to make that sacrifice. He had to blow his mom's brains out and stuff. Because she's a vampire, of course. So he has to get, Angel to the hospital. This is when we start to see the beginning points of season 4. With people in the hospital asking you very weird questions, especially your blood type. Because the vampires are taking over. But they decide, look, man, we got to get the heck on out of here and stuff. And so they hightail it and everything, only for a huge, traffic stop. And this is when they find the cops and they get, overrun and the cops get taken out. And Angel sadly gets stung and everything. But boy, I'm going to tell you this right here, right now. Angel went out like a boss. He was shooting vampires left and right. When he ran out of bullets, he picked up his 2 silver crosses on his fist. And he was just punching the crap out of them like he did back in his wrestling days. And gas is going everywhere. Flames are shooting up. It explodes, and when it explodes, boy, he holds his fist up in the air, showing that cross, and boom, he goes up in a blaze of glory and everything. And right before he went up, what they did artistically is they made him morph into his wrestler persona and everything right before the flames got him and stuff. Boy, when he went out, he had the second best death other than that of Nora. Gus, of course, is heartbroken by this, and he just straight up leaves. And we don't even see him in the last episode. We won't see him until the 4th season. Fit has stepped up. He's no longer exterminating rats. Now he's exterminating vampires. He's in charge of the Navy SEALs now. That's the position he's been given. And they've been going out, taking out the vampires. When he's crawling down in the tunnels, he finds a giant nest full of vampires. Him and some other people go down in there. He takes a couple of explosives with silver and he blows all of them up. Fernaldo thinks this is a big victory, and so does he, until he realizes that what the vampires wanted. They wanted them distracted in one spot so they could take over Central Park. Now feeling like a big failure, they have to step up their game again. Him and Dutch are not getting along. They have now officially broken up from last season. Basically, after he risked his life to save her, she left him for her girlfriend, only for her girlfriend to leave him. Then off screen, they broke up and stuff. And so he went with another woman, but he gets jealous when he sees who she's with now. And she gets jealous when she sees him with another woman. Basically, he hates Goodweather more than ever this season. They don't get along, and they even get into a physical fight, which the professor has to break up like their children. Dutch and Good weather. Basically, Dutch is on her own in the second episode. She has left the group. She's back hanging out with her hacker friends, only to realize they're idiots. And they don't take this whole vampire killing thing seriously, and they're getting themselves hurt. A couple of them get stung, and they left her to die. So she takes some of the half of the equipment and food, and she just straight up leaves them. We see those two later on and they get killed. Anyway, she heads back to where Fit used to live, but Goodweather is staying there now because of his betrayal. And so, like, basically they realize they're gonna have to work together. They get drunk a lot, but they work together. What they do is they create a jamming frequency that cuts off the telepathy of the master to the rest of the vampires. It's a long process, and they have to find multiple vampires to test this out on. But basically, the brain of the vampires is weird. It's a ball of worms. And so when they first tested it out, for some reason, it hurt her head. Maybe it was the master trying to like bounce off the frequency and hurt her back, but I don't know. But then later on, it works. And when it works, the vampires are pretty much just staying there, not knowing what to do, because they're completely cut off from the master. And sadly and weirdly, her and Goodweather hook up. They start to be a couple this season. They're sleeping together, they're constantly kissing. It's weird to see them together, especially when he's about 10, 15 years older than her. And literally his girlfriend died like a week ago. And so this also causes the problem with her and Fett, because when he finds out they're sleeping together, he ain't happy. And he tells her all you ever do is just sleep with the first person you see, which she kind of does. And so like that's basically what she does, like, this season. But thankfully, and I'm gonna spoil this right here, right now, her and Goodweather, they no longer date in the fourth season. Basically, when I say everybody gets separated, they get separated. So let's get to Goodweather, Zach, and Kelly. Goodweather is interesting this season. He starts off sad and depressed and constantly getting drunk because he's sad about Zach. He has no idea where Zach is at. Oddly enough, he's constantly drinking a lot, and when it does, it never affects his work. I would have liked to see it affect his work, because remember, in the first season, he had to go to AA because he had an alcohol problem, which also helped cause problems with his family. So that's kind of weird they didn't go that route, and he is constantly drinking this season. Basically, Kelly comes to him one night and is all like, look, give us the lumen and we'll give you Zach. This is when he steals the lumen from the professor. The professor will not let nobody touch the lumen or read the lumen but himself. So when Goodweather steals it, him and Quinlan go out to kill the master. It works, but the master worm gets away. This causes the professor to just be utterly disgusted with Goodweather and wants nothing to do with him. And it causes Fit to be pissed at him all season until he finds out about the whole Dutch thing. So basically, at the last battle with the master, he gets sliced with a sword. He stitches himself up as everybody else about to dump the master in the ocean. Well, it's interesting because remember I said he first was sad about Zach? Well, when he later left and started working on like the machine, he forgot all about Zach until Fit found a book left by Zach. Then he cares about Zach again, but then he forgets about Zach again because of course he's getting drunk and it's causing him to forget and neglect his son until his son just happens to pop up. Kelly's whole motivation is just keep Zach protected, but even to the point where she wants to bite Zach. So what she does is she gets Zach a pet to protect him and keep him safe. Zach is bored out his mind and is tired of living underground. He has a lot of stuff to keep him busy, but he wants to play with people and stuff. And he also misses his dad. But at first he was scared of his pet vampire, but now he's starting to like it because it will literally do whatever he wants. Well, when he turns out that some people are looking for them, he leaves a book behind with a message for his father. This is when Fett finds it, calls the dad, and all this other crap. And this is when Rikers gets his hand cut off by Dutch. So after that, it doesn't seem like Zach wants to be rescued no more because he's liking his pet too much. Well, a random man finds him and wants to help him. He orders the pet to kill the man because the man was going to shoot his pet. All of a sudden, he has now turned evil because he loves the power. Zach is a terrible person both on the show and in the comic. Well, when his mom and him show up at like Palmer's place and his dad stitching himself up, of course his dad wants Zach. Well, the mom ain't gonna let him have him. So they fight, and I mean they fight. And Zach is telling both of them to leave each other alone. He doesn't want neither of them to hurt each other. So Goodweather chokes the crap out of Kelly and kills her. Weird, because I thought in order to kill those vampires, it had to be sunlight, silver, or chopping the head off. Well, remember I said there was two nukes? Well, Rikers told Zach that, Kelly has a detonator and the master has to be the one to hit it. Well, the master is about to go underwater. And so Kelly is now dead. Zach, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, takes the detonator and turns on the nuke. He doesn't know why the master wants a nuke, but we later find out. The detonation causes a dust cloud, and it's so much like radiation and dust, it pretty much like blackens the sun. So this is when we get that yellowy like tint color that will last in season 4. Now the vampires can walk around in the daylight and everything because there's no more sun affecting them. Zach has literally doomed the freaking world because it's not just New York. Halfway into the season, we find out the whole world is getting taken over by vampires. And Zach has now made it easier and stuff, especially in New York. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, what the heck went through that fool's mind? Because nothing really indicated he would do that early in the season. But then when he let that man die, that just came out of nowhere. It was literally just plot armor. And because, the comic demanded it, the source material demanded it. So after this, Goodweather looks for Zach but can't find him because Zach has now ran off. Rikers is happy, and the professor during the explosion got loose. And the master, not the professor, the master got loose. And so Fit tells them, look, man, we got to get down in the sewers because the radiation is going to start coming and stuff. And then it just ends. I was like, holy crap. How did they come from this? They literally set off a nuke and everything. And, well, of course, like I told you, there's a time jump in season 4. And my review for season 4 is going to come up shortly and everything. Because I was just very shocked at, everything that happened. I do like season 4. I just don't love season 4. But this season, in my opinion, is the all-time best. It's the only one I own on DVD. I love the series as a whole, but it is a bit too much sciencey and talking and stuff like that, and I wanted more action. But all in all, this is a great series. It is on Hulu for you to watch. Now, wasn't that spooky? Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.